is going on, homies? My name is John Gasm, and today the subjects of discussion are the Star Wars prequels. It seems that just about everybody has something to say about these movies. Hating them comes second nature to Star Wars fans. Most don't even think about it anymore. Excuse me, did you say Star Wars prequels? Did you mean God's biggest mistake? The Phantom Menace? That movie was so sugar-coated I developed diabetes in the theater. Here's the thing though, guys. I know that the Star Wars prequels were a huge letdown. I share the same opinion as most Star Wars fans on this. However, after reading some of the original drafts and watching some behind the scenes for these movies, we should be thankful that they weren't even worse. George Lucas and company made some big changes during the creation process of the prequels, and today I'm going to share with you guys what some of those changes were. In what ways were the movies that we saw on screen different than what the creators originally thought up? Before we get started, I do want to say that not all of these changes were for the better. Plenty of them were for the worse. I strongly encourage you guys to listen to all of these plot twists so you can give me your thoughts on the movies that might have been. Earlier drafts of the script for The Phantom Menace placed more emphasis on the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Originally, he was already going to be a fully trained Jedi Knight at the start of the movie and the only Jedi negotiator sent to Naboo. In that same draft, the character of Qui-Gon Jinn did exist, but he wasn't going to be introduced until the characters went to Coruscant, and he was going to be the same age as Obi-Wan. The whole reason that Qui-Gon Jinn was added was to continue the passing of the torch theme that was prominent throughout the original trilogy. Benicio del Toro was expected to play Darth Maul until George Lucas cut all but 5 of his lines. The battle droids that we see were originally supposed to be as white as the stormtroopers from the original trilogy. The Neimoidians were originally going to be computer-generated creatures, but to save money were changed into men wearing animatronic masks. In earlier drafts, the name of the planet that Queen Amidala hailed from was going to be Utapau. They were also going to use this name for a planet in A New Hope. Obviously, it was scrapped both times, but they did end up using it in Revenge of the Sith. Before Samuel L. Jackson expressed his interest in joining the cast, the character of Mace Windu was originally going to be an animatronic alien. The alien was later identified as an Ankhs, my apologies if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, and can be seen in Watto's box during the pod race. It appears to the audience that the other head of the pod race announcer is simply translating what the first head is saying into Huttese. This actually isn't the case. Originally, all of his dialogue was supposed to be subtitled. You can read what he was originally supposed to say in the screenplay for The Phantom Menace. Next, you guys, is my favorite, absolute favorite rejected idea from The Phantom Menace, and possibly one of my favorite bits of trivia of all time. Believe it or not, but Michael Jackson originally wanted the role of Jar Jar Binks and went as far as to campaign for the opportunity. George Lucas rejected him because he felt that his star power would ruin the immersiveness of the film, but he did take the actor who ended up playing Jar Jar backstage to one of Michael's concerts to receive his blessing. So just think about that next time you guys want to complain about how terrible The Phantom Menace is, because I know I will. It could have been so much worse. According to an internet rumor at the time, the original opening for Attack of the Clones had Padme's spacecraft exploding via handheld detonator before landing. This was altered as it was uncomfortably similar to a reported terrorist attack to a commuter train. Portions of the opening scene ended up being refilmed that showed the spacecraft landing and the reason for detonation appearing vague. According to the official website, one of the many ideas for the character that ended up being Count Dooku was a female Sith. The rejected concepts for the female Sith ended up creating a new character, Asajj Ventress. The droid factory chase sequence was not going to be in the original script. Originally, Anakin and Padme were going to be captured right after they landed on Geonosis. Ben Burtt experimented with using drum beats and percussion sounds to underscore the droid factory sequence. However, George Lucas told them to use traditional effects instead. The Neimoidian scene with Nute Gunray on Geonosis was originally intended to be an official character with a name, Rune Hako. However, Rune's mask was lost shortly after the first completed shooting. Because of this, the production crew gave the actor a new mask of an unnamed character instead. Although nameless while filming the movie, he was eventually given a name, Gil Ramos Libkath. There were originally plans to include the character of Captain Panaka in the opening scene of this movie aboard the exploding spacecraft, which would have killed off the character early on in the film. The characters of Eeth Koth and Adi Gallia, 2 Jedi Council members, were replaced with 2 newly created characters after the parts were recast. 2 new characters were created because the 2 new actors that were going to play the original characters looked too different than the actors who originally played them. I feel like I might have just word vomited at you. The scene where Count Dooku visits the captive Obi-Wan Kenobi and tries in vain to recruit him was not in the original shooting script. This scene was shot during reshoots in early 2001 and was designed to confuse the audience into thinking that Dooku may not be evil after all. This new scene replaced 2 other scenes that were discarded in post. In the first scene, Padme and Anakin were going to meet Count Dooku in a conference room and reject his offer to join him. The scene following them would have been their trial where they were sentenced to death. Now my final twist for Attack of the Clones, and my favorite of all of the ones that I've listed, the fight between Yoda and Dooku was actually envisioned quite differently. Originally, Yoda was to come in and immediately have the fight with Dooku, but many of the creative team felt that was too quick a transition for Yoda, and the audience needed to feel the power of good and evil going against each other. So George Lucas added in the preamble to the fight with the blue lightning and rock falls because it showed how powerful Yoda was. There was also footage shot of Dooku using either Obi-Wan or Anakin's lightsaber against Yoda. However, these moves did not make the final cut. Finally, you guys, we are at the Revenge of the Sith plot twists. The original cut for Revenge of the Sith ran nearly 4 hours long. The opening battle / Palpatine rescue itself ran over an hour. In the duel with Count Dooku, Palpatine originally had dialogue he was supposed to shout at Anakin. One of his lines, which pertained to Episode 2, revealed that Count Dooku was the one who bribed the Tusken Raiders to kidnap and kill Anakin's mother. Originally, a young Han Solo was going to make an appearance in this movie, living amongst the Wookiees and Kashyyyk. Liam Neeson has said that he recorded a cameo as Qui-Gon Jinn where he was supposed to appear in a scene with Yoda and explain the concept of Jedi communicating from beyond the grave. You can actually watch an unfinished version of the scene that he appears in on the special features of the Blu-ray for Revenge of the Sith. The scene where Obi-Wan and Darth Vader try to force push each other and end up both falling back originally had a graphic of force energy appearing between both of their hands. One of the earlier concepts for General Grievous was a child sitting in a floating chair with 2 IG-88 droids appearing on each side of him. George Lucas actually is the one who rejected this idea, saying that audiences wouldn't accept the idea of a child as the deadliest lightsaber wielder in the galaxy. Instead, the final look for General Grievous's face was inspired by a bathroom detergent spray nozzle. Because that's better. The Opera House dialogue with Anakin and Palpatine was originally going to take place in Palpatine's office, but George Lucas said that he felt that the characters had already spent too much time there. The first draft of the script originally explained the mystery around Anakin's conception. Gary Oldman had agreed to play the part of General Grievous, but he eventually backed out. George Lucas initially said that no characters from the original movies would appear in Revenge of the Sith outside of baby Luke and Leia, but this ended up being totally incorrect. In addition to Luke and Leia, there's Yoda, Obi-Wan, Darth Vader, Grand Moff Tarkin, Palpatine, Chewbacca, Mon Mothma, C-3PO, R2-D2, Owen Lars, and Beru Lars. So yeah, just like 9 more characters than were originally planned. Anakin was originally just supposed to sit back and watch Darth Sidious battle the 4 Jedi Masters, and Darth Sidious was going to have stolen Anakin's lightsaber to duel them. The final fight between Mace Windu and Palpatine was supposed to be an all-over-the-place masterpiece, but George Lucas said that he wanted the actor who played Palpatine to do all of his own stunts. And lastly, you guys, the change that I wish wasn't made most of all. In the first draft of the screenplay, the movie was supposed to open with a montage of various battles from the Clone Wars ending. The montage would have shown 7 different planets, each given a special name such as Ring World, Bridge World, Crystal World, Kelp World, etc. This idea ended up evolving into the montage of the Jedi being slain across various planets. I'm not saying that I don't like what the idea turned into. I think the scenes with the Jedi deaths were some of the more well done parts of the prequels, but I just would have liked to have gotten a better glimpse of what the Clone Wars were all about. And there you have it, guys, 31 of the many changes that were made to the Star Wars prequels from the first draft of the screenplay to what we saw on screen. What did you guys think of the changes? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Leave me your thoughts on the comment section down below and hit that like button. I personally think it would be really cool to do this for the original trilogy, so if you guys let me know that you like it, I'll make sure to do it. When you're through with all that, make sure you hit those share and subscribe buttons. I've got the links to my social media accounts in the description down below. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go give those a like or follow if you wish. But more than anything, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I will be seeing you all very soon. May the Force be with you.